Article has come out on 24/7 Sports that confirms what I've been saying for weeks. The Big 12 saw a lot of value in Colorado, and those two could be a match made in heaven. We're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about Texas and OU's departure from the Big 12 and who is actually paying for that. We're going to talk about that as well right after this word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up, college sports fans, Big 12 fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Belly yourself up to the bar and let me serve you up another shot of top shelf college football content on tap today at Couz's Corner. We're talking about Colorado and Coach Prime, their entry into the Big 12 in 24, and also how that could be a match made in heaven. And that kind of coincides with what I've been saying here on the channel for weeks. There's an article out there that talks about that. I'm going to read you a little bit of that article. But before I get to that, we're going to talk a little bit about Texas and OU and their departure from the Big 12. Now, all this kind of ties together, and you'll see how in just a minute. But Texas and OU's departure from the Big 12 and entry into the SEC is being partially financed by none other than ESPN themselves. So there are some interesting details come out in this article written over in USA Today, and I'm going to share the article with you. Now, I'm not going to read the entire article, but I will leave a link to it in the description box if you want to check the article out for yourself. But the article in USA Today was written by Steve Berkowitz and Kirk Bowles, and it says, Texas, Oklahoma were to pay a steep price for leaving the Big 12 early. That's not how it turned out. And here are the key points of this article. Texas and OU faced the prospect of losing 2 years' worth of payouts from the Big 12, according to the conference bylaws. That's not what happened. Now, look, I've talked about this in previous videos. They're paying back $100 million to the Big 12. That's the total buyout they're having to pay to get out early. There's more to this story, folks, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Another key point in this article, and this will tie into what I'm going to touch on with Colorado in a minute, and it's that Colorado received a $2.5 million signing bonus from the Big 12 when they decided to join the conference in July. And then last but not least, and this is what I want to talk about here to start, and that is ESPN has agreed to make payments that will be directed to Texas and Oklahoma. Now, the first part of this article touches on the part about the $100 million. Texas and Oklahoma would have been on the hook for $160 million. They ended up getting out for $100 million. $80 million of that is going to be payouts they're not getting for the 24-25 season that they would have gotten. And then 20 of the $100 million comes from an interesting place. We all remember when UCF, Cincinnati, BYU, and Houston decided to leave their conferences, or the American, and of course in BYU's case, leave the independents early. The Legacy 8 members of the Big 12 agreed to finance part of that. Well, Texas and Oklahoma are also financing part of that, and that is part of that $100 million. Okay? That's number one. And that's in this article. It talks about that. Now, but the piece I want to focus on the most is the ESPN piece. When you look at this ESPN piece in this article here, it says ESPN cushions impact for Texas, OU, and move to the SEC. Texas and Oklahoma will begin receiving full shares from the SEC in 25-26. Their new member agreements with the conference say. For 24-25, the agreements say they won't get any money from the SEC's primary revenue sharing pool, but that doesn't mean they will get nothing from their new conference. The SEC will cover basics like their expenses for participation in certain conference championships and other postseason events. They also will get the conference's standard participation payments if their football and men's basketball teams, respectively, play in a bowl game or the NCAA tournament. Potentially more important, in 2024-25, they will get shares equally with the other 14 SEC schools in what their agreements call, quote, new and additional marginal net revenue, end quote. that the conference gets from several sources that seem likely to produce such revenue. One is the college football playoffs expansion from 4 teams to 12 teams that will occur beginning with the 24-25 season. The others are, quote, new or amended licensing agreements, including any and all additional revenue from amended broadcast rights agreements in connection with any modifications to the SEC's football schedule, end quote. According to the SEC's responses to questions provided in writing by the USA Today Network, a set of such modifications to the SEC's football schedule includes the universities of Oklahoma and Texas becoming part of the SEC's schedule. So when I read that, it reads to me like the SEC may get more money from their TV deal by adding Texas and Oklahoma. Now, you tell me if I'm misinterpreting that. Let me know in the comment section. But to me, that's what that's saying. And here's the kicker, and I'll tell you how this next part can impact future expansion. It says this money will be coming from ESPN, which is taking over the SEC's featured Saturday afternoon evening football TV rights package from CBS beginning in 2024. And there is more from ESPN. Each school's agreement with the SEC states, and I quote, the institution has represented to the SEC that ESPN Incorporated, or an affiliate of ESPN Incorporated, has agreed to make a transition payment to the SEC over and above all rights fees and other payments otherwise payable to the SEC by ESPN Incorporated and its affiliates, earmarked and designated for distribution to the institution, end quote. The agreements do not say how much this payment will be, and the schools and the SEC declined to comment about the amount. Meanwhile, Texas and OU are getting other payments from ESPN under contract modifications that will shut down agreements for so-called third-tier rights to events, including football and men's basketball, but primarily involving sports such as volleyball, women's basketball, softball, and baseball, and with OU, wrestling, and gymnastics. Those rights will convey to the SEC and, in turn, to the ESPN-owned SEC network. Now, there's more to this, but, folks, this is huge. It goes on to talk about the Longhorn Network and other things. I don't want to dive too far into the weeds here. I just want to kind of hit the high point here, and that's this. ESPN wanted Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC so bad they were willing to pay the SEC more money in addition to what they had already agreed to, which was a crap ton of money, to add Texas and Oklahoma to that league because they see value in Texas and Oklahoma playing the likes of Alabama and Georgia and Texas A&M and Florida and Tennessee and so on and so forth. They see the value in that. And they see the value so much so that they're willing to pony up more money. Now, they wouldn't say how much more. Maybe that will come out later. But to me, that's pretty telling right there. There's a lot of people I've seen on social media say the networks don't have much of a say in conference realignment. I think this article proves that's just incorrect. So for anybody to think that ESPN and Fox aren't pulling the strings of conference realignment, I think this article proves those folks to be incorrect. And I think this shows that ESPN and Fox are pulling the strings. Yes, they're not making the decision at the end of the day. It's all up to the school presidents. I get that. But they're pulling the strings. And at the end of the day, it's all about the Benjamins. And they're the ones, along obviously through their advertisers, that are paying the Benjamins. So, of course, they're pulling the strings because they hold the money. So this shows me ESPN has a lot more control over conference expansion than what many people out there may realize. And what's that mean for future expansion? Well, that means that if ESPN or Fox wants a team to join a league, they're going to do what they need to do to try to make it happen. Hence, USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten. You mean to tell me Fox didn't want that move? Baloney. Fox wanted it. They made it happen by ponying up more money to the Big Ten. All right, now, the Colorado piece. When you look at the Pac-12 and the fact that they fell apart, a lot of people wanted to say, well, Colorado leaving is not going to hurt the league. They'll just backfill, yada, yada, yada. That's BS. And I think this article I'm going to share with you now proves that. Number one, the fact that Colorado, this article even touched on the $2.5 million bonus, signing bonus, that the Big 12 was willing to pay Colorado to come over to the league. My understanding is they're taking that money out of the buyout money they're getting from Texas and Oklahoma. They were able to use that money to help expand. So they could be getting that $2.5 million out of that pool. That's fine. I have no issue with that. But it goes to show you how valuable Colorado is to the Big 12. One reason is because they knew that once they added Colorado, more dominoes could fall and they could get the other 3 4 corner schools, which Brett Yormark says that was a dream scenario, and it happened. But the biggest reason, which is what I want to focus on in this video, is they see the value in Colorado and getting Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, into the Big 12, folks. You can sit here and say what you want to about Coach Prime. He might be a little cocky. He might love attention. He wears gold chains and sunglasses and all that. He has, entrance music when he does his introductory speech to the team. He goes and cuts half the team to bring in new players. All that. Says he's bringing his Louis. Talks about how great his son's going to be, which, by the way, has turned out to be true so far. You can say all that. And there's some of that stuff I don't like either. But there is no way anyone can argue with the value Coach Prime is bringing to Colorado, and he can bring a lot of that with him to the Big 12 Conference. And I've talked about this in past videos. But again, I'm going to share an article with you. This is written by Brandon Marcello with 24/7 Sports. It says, Big 12 ready for prime time. Colorado is transcending sport with Deion Sanders, Brett Yormark explains. The Big 12 is ready for prime time. The conference doesn't add Colorado as a member until next summer, but the rise of the Buffaloes under Coach Deion Sanders in the first 3 weeks of the season has amplified the anticipation of their exit from the Pac-12. What's happening is transcending sport, Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark told 24/7 Sports on Thursday. No program has had more eyes on them than the Colorado Buffaloes, which has become a living, breathing, around-the-clock reality show on social media. With an electric personality, an unquestionable knack for promotion, a way with words, catchphrases and nicknames, and a new storyline or antagonist to follow every week, Coach Prime has struck a chord that is rarely heard across the country. The world is flocking to screens to watch it unfold. This is baffling to me. Most of you already know about this little statistic, but I want to talk about it again. Colorado played in the most watched game of the year. 9.3 million viewers. I'm going to say 9.3 million viewers in this late night rally. This is a game that didn't go off until 2 a.m. Eastern time, folks, or 1 a.m., whatever it was. Still got 9.3 million views, man, against Colorado State, a group of 5 school. In its late night rally in a 43-35 overtime win against rival Colorado State last week on ESPN. The Buffs have played in 3 of the 5 most watched games of the season. And on Tuesday, the top 2 trending videos on YouTube were Sanders' interview with 60 Minutes on CBS and highlights of the Buffaloes' victory. Now, I'm disappointed that those 2 videos got more views than I did here on CouzsCorner. Now, dang it, CouzsCorner should have more views. I'm kidding. We all know that's BS. But anyway, that's how many views Deion Sanders is bringing to the Colorado Buffaloes, folks. And it talks about he's being the resurgence to that. And here's a quote from Brett Yormark. He's bringing a whole new audience into college football that's obviously focused on Colorado, but generally speaking, bringing a new audience to college football, Yormark said. We're excited about that. Obviously, his vision and our vision as a conference are very aligned when you think about connecting to culture, getting on the consciousness of future student athletes. It's something I've been saying since I took the job 13 months ago. When I think about what's happening in Colorado specifically, and I think about our conference and where we've been going over the last 13 months, there's great alignment. Obviously, I'm looking forward to them joining the conference as I am Arizona, Utah, and Arizona State. And he says there's great alignment with the vision of Deion at Colorado and the vision of the Big 12. Some bald guy that's a West Virginia fan that does videos on YouTube has been saying that for weeks. Coach Prime, Brett Yormark, great marriage in my opinion. It says Sanders has been a money magnet for Colorado, drawing as much as $17 million into the economy in Boulder, Colorado for each sold-out home game. According to the Visit Boulder Convention of Visitors Bureau. Folks, when I was reading that, I thought, okay, yeah, he's doing great for Boulder, but think about this. You don't think Colorado coming to your local college town is going to help the economy there? Every game will probably sell out next year in the Big 12. If Colorado comes to Morgantown, I almost guarantee you it'll sell out. And not only will it sell out, they will probably have more fans than are even watching the game. I was on the show last night with R.C. Maxfield over at Back to 12 podcast. We talked about the Texas Tech West Virginia game coming up. And he was talking about how he's talked to some folks who attended the Colorado TCU game in Dallas. And there were more people there than were even attending the game because they just wanted to be around it. They just wanted to see and feel what it was like for Coach Prime to be in town. That's how much buzz is surrounding this team and this guy. People that weren't even fans of TCU in Colorado were at that game. Whether they went in the stadium or not, they were tailgating. They were probably shopping at local stores, eating at local restaurants. Think about that, folks. He's going to be a boom to the economies of every city in the Big 12. I'm telling you, it's a great move. And I know the buzz may not be the same as it is this year because it's all brand new, but next year it'll be all new for us in the Big 12. Now, we all know Coach Prime may not coach at Colorado the rest of his life. And if he's 5-6 years into his tenure there and they're not winning a lot, some of this may die down. But why not strike while the iron's hot? Strike while the iron's hot. Take advantage of this boom, whatever the word is, to the economies that this brings to your towns and to your conference. And if they are able to keep the hype train going, by the time they get to 2029, 2030, and they start renegotiating this new TV deal, it will matter. It will absolutely matter. And there's one part of this article, which, like I said, I'm not going to read the entire article to you. There's a link. You can check it out for yourself. But it will matter to these TV networks. And as a matter of fact, like Brandon Marcello mentioned here in the article, or if the TV networks had known the value Colorado was going to bring them this year, heck, they might have given the Pac-12 a TV deal, a better deal, made them a better offer. Who knows? That's something to think about. I don't think anybody saw this coming. $9.3 million for a game against a group of 5 school, folks. There is no way anybody saw that coming. I know I didn't, but man, it's been massive. Massive boon to the Colorado economy, massive boon to the University of Colorado, and it's going to be a massive boon to the Big 12, at least for a year or two. So you might as well take advantage of it. Well, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments section, Couz's Corner family. What do you think, first of all, about Colorado and the Big 12 pairing up with Commissioner Brett Yormark? You've got Brett Yormark, Deion Sanders, 2 marketing gurus, 2 promotional gurus. I think those 2 being together is going to be a huge boon to the Big 12. Also, what do you think about this information about ESPN helping finance Texas and Oklahoma's move to the SEC? I found that to be extremely interesting. Some of you may have already known about this. I personally did not. I find it interesting. I want to hear your thoughts about all this. I recommend you, after this video, go read both those articles. They're both very well written. Both are too long for me to sit here and try to read to you on the air, and I don't want to bore you with all that stuff. Reminder, folks, on the screen is my club level VIP members. Now you see my pub level VIP members. Hit the join button below if you want to join that exclusive club. If you want to support my channel for free, all you have to do is hit the like button. If you like this video, you can share it with your family and friends. Leave a comment below. That helps the algorithm as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. You can also support me financially. Guys, I have merch. I haven't been advertising it really a lot lately. I do have a merch store. I have shirts, hats, hoodies, beanies, coffee mugs. All of that in my merch store. I have my Couz's Corner logo. I have some other designs to choose from as well. Go check out the Couz's Corner merch store and pick yourself up some new merch. With all that being said, guys, I really appreciate your support here on the channel. Appreciate you guys continuing to tune in, week out, show in, show out. Thank you for all you've done for me and for continuing to help me grow here. And until the next episode of Couz's Corner, Q Country Roads.